welcome back to Hit the Kitch. Today I am making a citrus granita with coconut whip creamsicle cream. Coconut whipped cream. It's basically gonna be a creamsicle vibe where the citrus orange part is this really simple hand stirred granita. There's like three ingredients in it. And then the whipped cream is where the vanilla and coconut is gonna come into play, and you're gonna serve them together and it's gonna taste like a creamsicle. It's so yummy and so simple. There's two steps basically. One is make the granita, the other is make the whipped cream. The granita is going to be made out of citrus juice. You can use any citrus that is in season and delicious, or frankly, citrus that's out of season and delicious. I am using mandarins. I always get my citrus mixed up. Originally, I developed this recipe with satsumas because they were at the market all the time. Now we're seeing mandarins. By the time this video comes out, who knows, maybe you'll be able to get your hands on blood oranges or cara oranges. It's a winter recipe, but it's also great in the summer because it's granita, so mixed citrus. And then the whipped cream is a mixture of heavy cream and coconut yogurt and vanilla. And so we're gonna whip the cream, and then we're gonna fold in Harmless Harvest vanilla coconut yogurt, which is really thick and creamy and coconutty, and it's going to flavor the whipped cream and give it like body so that it stands up against the melty, citrusy, icy granita. It's so delicious. I eat this on its own, and so naturally this is just like always in my fridge. When I originally developed this recipe, I used mascarpone in the cream, or mascarpone as they call it here. And then the other day I was looking at my fridge and I was like, why am I not putting vanilla coconut yogurt in my whipped cream? That sounds delicious. Turns out it is. So that's what I'm gonna show you how to make today. All right, let's start with the granita. We need 2 cups of citrus. So you're just gonna get cutting. Look how beautiful these are. Should we have a moment for them? Oh my God. Have you ever? Look how cute. And I think it's probably a couple of pounds of citrus that you need to make 2 cups of juice, but it really depends how juicy your citrus is. So you're just gonna keep cutting and juicing until you have 2 cups of juice. Look at this gorgeous tray of citrus we have. This isn't gonna be particularly fun for you to watch, but I do think this is a great citrus juicer if you're interested. Not only does it catch the pulp, but it also measures for you. So that's cool, because then you don't have to transfer it to a measuring cup. These are juicy as all hell. There's nothing worse than a dry citrus. Granita. Granita sounds fancy, huh? People think it's like hard to make fancy Italian ice situation. It's so not fancy. It's juice and sugar, and it's frozen and stirred together, literally. It's so silly. I'm gonna show you how easy it is. The only thing you have to do is you have to keep stirring it every like hour or so as it freezes, but so what? Just hit the freezer once an hour. No big deal. Oh Jesus, I'm really overflowing over here. I just got really carried away. Okay, this is almost 2 cups. So the juice goes into a standard loaf pan. This is like what you would bake a cake in. And that's just the easiest thing to freeze it in. You don't have to use a loaf pan, but it fits in the freezer nicely and it's nice to serve it out of. I guess you could do it in a bowl. I don't know, that sounds like it would tip. This recipe can be found on The Club, which is my online recipe club at mollyboz.com, which is where hundreds of my other recipes live. And you sign up and then you're a part of the club and you get a new recipe in your inbox every Friday. And it's always something new and different, so you should come join us over there. All right, so that's 2 cups of citrus juice. I managed to make a mess, but that's okay. Here's the thing. Citrus juice is pretty sweet. It depends on what fruit you're using. Like the sweetness will vary fruit to fruit. When you freeze something and eat it frozen, your perception of sweetness is very mellowed out. And so I'm gonna add a little bit of simple syrup to this, which I'm gonna make right now by combining 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and a couple tablespoons of warm tap water, just like that much. This is like the easiest simple syrup you could ever make. I'm gonna add a little sweetness just so that once this is frozen, it tastes properly sweet on the palate. You just need like a little bit extra because your taste buds are like, they kind of freeze when you eat frozen things and you gotta bump things up. If you happen to squeeze your fruit and you're like, this is the sweetest citrus I've ever tasted in my life, you don't have to add the simple syrup. It benefits from like a splash or so. So you can start by adding just a little and then give it a stir to incorporate. I'm going to also add the juice of 1 lemon. And that's going to brighten this up. So it's gonna give it a little bit of acidity, which will make all of the other flavors sing a bit more as well. And then we'll give it a taste for sweetness and decide whether we want to add more sugar. We're also gonna add salt. So seasoning it with a couple pinches of salt. Damn delicious, I'll tell you what, I would chug that. The salt is huge and makes it all really pop, but I'm gonna add a little bit more sugar. The salt makes it taste more like itself. So it's like the citrus, the mandarins will taste more mandarin-y because there's salt in there than they would if you hadn't seasoned them. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I am satisfied with where we landed there. And so I am now going to put this in the freezer and we're going to stir it after about an hour and for every hour until it looks like granita. So then into the freezer, make sure you got a little spot for it, right on top of my cookies. It's kind of hectic in there. And then we'll come back in like 45 minutes. While the granita finishes freezing, we're gonna make the vanilla coconut whip. I'm starting with about a cup of straight up heavy whipping cream. You could totally do this in a stand mixer or with electric beaters. In fact, I think you should. There's like not really any value in doing it by hand other than proving to yourself that you can, but I just don't feel like getting the mixers out right now. So I'm gonna add a little bit of vanilla and a pinch of salt. And then I'm adding about a tablespoon of granulated sugar. A lot of people call for confectioner sugar in their whipped cream. I think because they think it dissolves more easily. I've never had a problem dissolving granulated sugar in whipped cream. So you can do this by hand. Just get a really big bowl and a really nice big whisk and get cracking, because it takes a minute. I do a figure-8 motion when I whip cream. This doesn't really whip air into it, so if that has been your technique historically, abort. This whips more air into the cream more quickly. The bigger the bowl, the easier it is to do this. Don't go grabbing a little tiny bowl. And you'll see pretty soon it's gonna start to thicken. This doesn't take that much time because it's only 1 cup of cream. If you're doing a larger volume, 2 or 3 cups, it would get kind of annoying. We'll switch a rooney. There's something really satisfying about whipping cream by hand, I will say, even though it's entirely unnecessary, but it's kind of magical. Okay, so then here's the thing. As you start to get close to having a nice kind of medium peak, you don't want to overdo it, because by the time we now whisk in our coconut yogurt, if it's already where you want it, then you're gonna suffer from over whipped cream. Stop the whipping like just shy of a proper medium peak, which means that like it should still droop off a little bit. It shouldn't hold its peak up on the whisk. Okay, let's take a look at the granita. It's been in there for like 45 minutes. Please don't mind the chaos of my freezer. Or do mind it. I don't care if you mind. It's my freezer, my choice. Okay, so here's the granita. As you can see, there are ice crystals that have started to form around the edges, and we basically just want to break those up periodically as it freezes. And then it's going back in for another hour or so. And then I'm taking about 1/3 of a cup, or just like a couple huge dollops of this Harmless Harvest vanilla coconut yogurt. So we're doubling down on vanilla. And then we're just gonna take it the rest of the way from there. Should we give it a little taste? Yum, the coconut yogurt is so yummy in this. Better than regular whipped cream. Just got a little more personality, you know? Yeah, a little more sugar. It's always a work in progress, a whipped cream. Hell yeah, delicious. It's now been 2 hours since we first froze the granita. I'm wearing a different outfit because I've filmed 2 other videos since we put that in the freezer, but we're gonna take a look. Okay, things have changed. We are starting to freeze, as you can see, which is great. And again, we're coming in here to just break up the ice crystals and start to kind of flake this all into a fluffy granita, because we don't want it to freeze solid into a block. It's starting to look good, folks. The last thing we gotta do is assemble. Scrape and assemble. You pick your most beautiful glass. This is one of mine. You grab your granita. So that's the one that we made earlier today. And you'll give it another last scrape here. See how fluffy, see how fluffy this got? That was probably 4 hours total of freezing, and it's all done for you. If we hadn't scraped as we went, this would be a more solid block right now, and I'd be like chunking into it. It would be very hard to portion it out. So that's why we do the flaking throughout the process of it. Just makes things easier on you at this point. Okay, and then it's really nice and fluffy, so you can just fluff it right in. And then we finish it with the whip. Look how beautiful. Look at that dollop. I mean, hello. Have you ever seen anything more beautiful in your life? And then lastly, if you wish, and if you use all your citrus, it's no biggie at all, but you can do a little bit of citrus zest right on top so that everyone knows what's going on. And this is the creamsicle granita with cocoa whip.